Forum. This is the last edition in the month of July 2025. And well, what a way to end it, or should I say, what a way to welcome another month, because today's edition, I can guarantee you that it's going to be full of great talks and, well, a little bit of what I would define as in-depth analysis of what the PF as well as the Tonse Alliance have really been going through. A roller coaster, and well, it is still a dark cloud for them because they lost a gallant leader who stood by their side and who really led them wholeheartedly. And we will also dive a little bit deeper into that. Well, for the next 1 hour, 30 minutes, my name is Victor Mwanza, and well, we will be chatting with the Patrotic Front and Tonse Alliance Secretary General, that is Honorable Raphael Nakachinda. A long-awaited interview, but first, before I welcome him, I want you to understand that you will be participating as well on 0955 855 953. Also, you will send us a text message on 076 89122 if you want us to ask him anything as the show unfolds. Now, a whole lot of us are very well aware that Honorable Raphael Nakachinda has featured on various social platforms or media houses where a number of questions have been thrown at him. You, who's been a loyal listener to Sun FM, really has asked us a lot of questions that we thought Honorable Raphael Nakachinda could be the best individual or person to answer these questions. Now, you might be wondering, just some few days ago, we hosted Honorable Ngambi on this platform, who is in the Central Committee of the Patrotic Front, but there were some cliffhangers that were left out. With that said, that's the reason why Honorable Raphael Nakachinda is here, to just make sure that we put a seal to whatever cliffhangers remained in that conversation. Honorable, welcome to this great interview, I want to call it, because I've been longing so much to host you, and I've been wanting so much to get the answers that the people have. Welcome to Sun FM Radio and TV.
Thank you very much, my brother, and good morning to you, and good morning to our listeners. Of course, first June morning, and the funeral before us is a national funeral. Allow me to take this opportunity to also pass my condolences to the people of Zambia over the loss of our former president. And we hope that these matters will amicably be resolved so that he can be put to rest.
Awesome. Honorable, let's get straight into what I feel is the order of the day, or should I say elephant in the room, and that is us trying to find out how is the Patriotic Front together with the alliance of the Tonse. How is it going so far, and how's everything unfolding, owing to the fact that we are approaching the 2026 general elections?
Right. Obviously, you know that we're in mourning. The loss of our former president, very devastating. And of course, the issues around his burial and processes that are going on in South Africa have had obviously a toll on all of us that are directly involved. And we are just wishing and praying that they will be resolved so that we give him a dignified funeral and allow the family to also begin to experience a process of healing. Not only the nuclear family, but the extended family of Patrotic Front, as well as the nation at large. So we are hanging in there and praying that God will help us navigate through this process in a manner that will guarantee that we continue to be united and be peaceful as a nation.
Awesome. Now, I like the fact that you've started by giving us the tiff of the fact that you're still in mourning, and obviously you've mentioned the first former family, also according them an opportunity to mourn. I want to zero in on the Patriotic Front. Are we seeing the unity of the former late President Edgar Lungu still leading the Patrotic Front, and this is spilling also into the Tonse Alliance?
Well, you see, PF is a very vibrant political party. We're quite robust in our political engagement. But one thing you cannot fault us is that after everything said and done, we remain a very united political movement. And I know that a number of people who are wishing and hoping that having lost our leader, then we'll find ourselves in chaos, and there will be, factions and so on. But I think, give it to us. There's been a very vigorous effort through what the UPND call Mingarato, attempting to destabilize Patriotic Front. The activities that are in public domain, the processes as illegal as they were to try and impose a leadership on Patriotic Front. But that has not, brought disunity within the party. Even the so-called factions that people try to pronounce, they are pronounced out of just a desire to try and see if there could be cracks in Patriotic Front. But those cracks have not been able to manifest because we were united. More so now that we have suffered this loss, I think we have the loss itself has also brought us even more closer to one another, from the grassroots to the leadership of the party. So I think so far so good. By extension, of course, we belong to an alliance called Tonse Alliance. It's a congregation of political entities and civil society organizations and other organizations. And because, of course, we hold different, possibly, ideologies and approaches to politics, there could be teething issues that may manifest through statements and interviews. But I think what is important to appreciate is that being the bigger brother in the alliance, not only by virtue of our structural arrangements across the country, but I think it's a fact that we have a bigger representation in parliament, at local government level, and in all the by-elections that we've participated in as an alliance. PF has been the key factor in getting us to achieve the results that we've been getting. So, being the anchor political party, we realize that we have a bigger responsibility, and we have to exhibit a high level of magnanimity to make sure that the unity that President Ganungu was fostering and desired to see happen within the opposition front is actualized. Because I think the responsibility we have towards 2026 is huge, and therefore all of us must rise above petty personal interests and look at the bigger picture.
Awesome. Now, Honorable, I also want to find out, you've mentioned the fact that the Patriotic Front is the biggest political party if we speak of the alliance, and also you've mentioned the fact that we have factions that are in the PF. This brings me back to the confusion that probably saw a lot of people wondering whether the PF is still breathing or not. But obviously you've mentioned that it's a very big party with a huge footprint across the country. I want to speak on the confusion that has seen Robert Chavinga saying he's the president, the president of the party, and there is also the leader of the opposition in parliament. I'm also getting my history from the fact that Brian Mundubile was holding this position. How did we get to that confusion, and what exactly happened around that turmoil within the Patriotic Front?
I don't know why you want to present a situation in generic terms, or to generalize the term confusion. I think the best description is that why are there elements or individuals that are confused and attempting.
Should we put it that way?
Yeah, you can say there's confusion in PF. There's never been confusion in PF.
They are just individuals who are confused and causing confusion.
And attempting to cause confusion. And it is not working for them. So if, for example, you talk of Chavinga, who is Chavinga in really the political equation of Patrotic Front? He's nothing apart from the fact that by whatever justification or reason, he was given the opportunity to be member of parliament. Honorable Munduvile, just after the loss, because of the provisions of the law, was appointed or elected by the leadership of the party to be leader of opposition. And that the whip would then be Honorable Kampiongo, deputized by, I think later it was Honorable Kasandwe. The event that happened in 2023, which I think from what he himself said, Mao Sampa, indicated that he was attempting, out of the fact that he felt he was being defranchised, to undertake, what he called a retreat, and later on converted into what now they were calling a conference. The state, the UPND government, got so much interested to take advantage of that insignificant event to try and create confusion. And that is where the likes of Chavinga are being opportunistically, identified to be used as pawns from the UPND. So at this particular stage, we have taken steps to cure that. We have reconciled. For me, I find that sometimes to even to spend time debating the likes of Chavinga, who are clearly society misfits, we are losing the plot, both as political players as well as the fourth estate, which is basically the media, because we seem to be more inclined in perpetuating insignificant elements at the expense of dealing with what really matters for the people of Zambia. The people of Zambia are expecting that if this government has to perform, looking at the fact that actually their performance is below par, there is need for a stronger voice from the opposition to provide checks and balances. But it looks like the attitude that is exhibited suggests that people are more interested in selling negative news without advancing from a place of patriotism, things that will be able to strengthen our democracy. Right now, we must all be united in speaking against the attempt by UPND to silence dissent. There are many examples of the attempts by UPND government to actually shut the mouth or the voice of the opposition. PF, being the largest political party in opposition, has been a victim. So all I can say is that for us, we are determined to make sure that even with the loss of our president, we'll be able to emerge stronger and be of service to the nation by speaking out without fear on behalf of the poor, on behalf of the voiceless, without giving premium to things that really don't matter.
Awesome. Now, Honorable Chavinga, I'm following you closely, and obviously a lot of people are, with the fact that we are...
That's a slip of the tongue. I'm not Honorable Chavinga. Yeah.
Nonetheless,
yeah.
Mr. Chavinga, I'll call you that.
I'm not Chavinga.
Rather, Raphael Nakachinda, rather.
Right. Yeah.
You see now, I was thinking of whatever that you're telling me. I'm thinking, okay, so we are selling a wrong brand here, or what? What exactly are we doing? Nonetheless, I apologize, Mr. Chavinga. Nakachinda. I want us to drift away from the fact that we've spoken so much about what seems to be derailing what the whole agenda of what the people out there are expecting to hear. this we can't run away from the fact that it is in the public domain, owing to the fact that there has been a lot of words, a lot of audios, a lot of call-outs that have come out. But I want to come to what people should believe in. We recently saw one of the youth chairpersons, in particular the Socialist Party, saying we will form an opposition that is going to stand in the road of the UPND come 2026. Are you for the idea that come 2026, the only way, and this question is coming from the fact that you've mentioned it about 3 times that the PF is the biggest opposition currently and providing a biggest share when it comes to the alliance. Are you for the idea that come 2026, if the PF together with other opposition parties come together, you definitely manage to squeeze out what the UPND are doing currently?
Unless you have, I don't know where that may be coming from. The issue of unity, I think the Zambian people have placed a demand on all of us in opposition to work together. And we will make every effort. We may not get 100% unity, but at least we'll get a reasonable form of unity and working together, unity of purpose towards redeeming the people of Zambia from the yokes of the hardships and torment caused by the UPND. But I want to correct the notion to suggest that when we say we are the largest opposition, we're talking about a political entity. But the real opposition for the UPND is not political parties. Political parties are just vehicles, platforms through which the Zambian people express themselves. The real opposition for the UPND are the Zambian people who are suffering, those who are experiencing the pain of high cost, the high cost of living, the cost of fuel, the cost of minimum, the cost of basic essential commodities that people depend on a daily basis. The cost of farming inputs for our farmers, the small-scale farmers, the blatant theft of public resources, as reviewed by FIC and the Trend report that has reviewed figures that would cause every patriotic Zambian to have their tummy 10. We have been trotting around with a begging bowl, looking for $1 billion from IMF and other stakeholders. When under our nose we have had illicit losses, and they even to call it illicit losses is really an understatement. This is state orchestrated and managed externalizing of finances into private pockets to a tune of $3 billion. If you look at accumulatively what the report is revealing for the past 10 to 12 months from 24 into 2025, which is basically about 4 months into this year, we have lost slightly over 140 billion kwacha. And if you look at what the UPND boast about, the UPND say they're taking development to the people through CDF, and they have loaded a number of activities around CDF, whether it is infrastructure development, empowerment of citizens, in scholarships and all that. They always refer to CDF. But how much is being given every year or per year to constituencies? Somewhere around 30 million kwacha.
36 million kwacha.
Yeah, we can say 36 million kwacha. That's what is being given per year. Now, if you multiply that 36 million kwacha times 5 years, it will give you somewhere around 170, 180 million kwacha. Now, if you divide what has been stolen in 12 months or 10 months, $140 billion, you divided by 156 constituencies is giving you averagely above 800, 850 million kwacha. Do you know, my brother, how much that money or what that money can do if it was put in a constituency?
No.
So the disparity is too abnormal when you look at what is going out of this country. Coupled with that, you even give foreign entities, mining entities, tax holidays to a point where mineral royalty is actually refundable. And we spend hours on radio just criticizing each other when the actual corruption, the actual sabotage of the interests of the Zambian people economically is happening in such a scandalous manner. I would encourage that. I think we need to pause as a nation and ask questions. What has gone wrong? What is so wrong about us, Zambians, Africans, that we have to continue with this cycle of having leaders who are puppets of foreign entities, that they would even find sleep they'll go home and find sleep when, resources that are supposed to be enjoyed by Zambians have found their way into private entities in foreign lands. And then our people here are subjected to the challenge of road shedding. And because the energy or electricity is one of the aiders of economic activities, those who are in welding, those who are in saloons, those who are
butchery
business, those who are in barber shops, those who are doing something on the streets, who are the majority in this country, have been sabotaged, their business closing because they can't have electricity. The option of having solar and all that requires capital. But when you go to the financial sector, whether it's banks and so on, they don't have, they cannot provide the finance required for these small-scale businesses to access, because government also is going in the, in the sector to also borrow money, and they crowd out the businesses,
yes,
big or small. So the cycle is so terrible and choking for an ordinary Zambian. But if we get to radio, I think that's what we.
I like where you're going, Mr. Raphael Nakachinda here. I want to find out. You speak with calmness. You speak with vision. You speak with wanting to change whatever the roller coaster is like now. Are you telling us that this is the different patriotic front that a lot of people probably complained about 7 years ago, saying things are not okay? We are experiencing all this hooliganism. We're experiencing this bullying and so on. You speak with a lot of democracy in your voice, in your tonation. You speak with a lot of empathy for the people of Zambia. Have you, as the PF, realized to say the channel that we really need to take is to show empathy and show the proper democracy that the people of Zambia and the people of Africa really deserve?
Listen, first of all, what is the ideology of Patrotic Front? Okay. Why were we pronouncing ourselves through our first president that we're a pro-poor political party? How is it that we're able to pronounce our policies in such a way that I spoke and resonated with the ordinary people? Is from the same place to which I'm expressing myself. The complaint and the beating that we got from those who criticize PF in opposition, particularly the UPND, most of which through propaganda, they could not fault us in terms of development. They basically, developed the skill of spinning propaganda against PF in relation to cadres. When you look at the so-called cadreism under PF, it was basically what I could say, those associated with PF, they will be in the streets and making noise, inconveniencing maybe people in terms of movement. But the UPND's cadreism is that they have taken cadres into institutions of government.
The difference with you is they were on the street, but the UPND
They are in government.
In government.
So you can have ECZ, which is supposed to preside over the elections. UPND cadres have been appointed as commissioners, including the chairperson. You have a situation where, because there's a matter that is before the Concord, all of a sudden there is this rush, clearly Mingarato, to remove some judges, in a dramatic manner. And new judges are appointed, some of which were here. The allegations that that's when they are going to do quote-unquote courses in human rights. You understand? Because at Parliament, they were, when they were being scrutinized, because obviously they needed to be ratified, a number of them were found that they were not even qualified. There were even questions of proximity to the UPND and the leadership in UPND. All these things speak to the fact that when you talk of cadreism with PF, it was the irritation of cadres by the noise they were making in certain places.
On the streets and out there.
Yeah, maybe at the bus station. When Misaka Indaichirema says, do you want to be beaten again, to be, for pangas to come back and so on? It is a twist of facts. If there is a political party that is violent, I have met UPND cadres who have told me that when we unleash what they call their dogs, you will see, we can beat all of you. They boast about that. That is basically a culture you can find in the so-called Mapatize formula. You can find it in many other formulas they were using whenever there were by-elections. Go to the statistics, go to the reports on the inquiry. Remember that President Edgar Lungu had commissioned for people to go and study what was going on. But with the propaganda, they attempted to paint us black. But time has a way of revealing the truth. Why is it that Edgar Chagalungu, that was perceived to be such a bad leader, has become a darling, loved by ordinary Zambians? It's because they realize we voted out a good leader and brought in a leader that is oppressing us. We thought he was going to fix the economy, but he's fixing us. But we also are honest enough as Patrotic Front. Remember, just after the loss, we commissioned a Nahado committee led by Honorable Jean Kapata, who is our vice national chairperson, to undertake what we called a post-mortem. We went to interact with people across the country to be able to tell the party why we lost. And we were very categorical that on all fronts you were good. The only challenge we saw and were uncomfortable with was the behavior of your cadres. And that we have been able to cure. Hence, our discourse is not just an act. We're not in a theater where we are acting for convenience. What I'm telling you is coming from a place of conviction. We need to do better as a country. We need to prioritize the interests of the Zambian people, even in our political discourse. When you interview a person who are advancing mainly the rhetoric of wanting to promote themselves, and it's about themselves, just know that they've lost the plot. The real value or the values we're advocating for in PF is that the collective interests of the Zambian people matter more than personal interests. They even matter more than the partisan interests. And that's how come promoting unity among opposition can only work if all of us suspend personal and political interests and look at the bigger picture, which is basically the interest of the nation.
Awesome. Now, let me take you to South Africa. Recently, you were in South Africa, and you of all the people, firsthand, really saw the pain, the grief, and the anguish that the former First family is going through. I want you to speak to the legacy of former Republican President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. How do you think it's going to be upheld And how do you think the Zambians will live to remember the former Republican president with what you saw in South Africa and what you're witnessing in Zambia? And owing to the fact that you sent a team to go and have a conversation with individuals out there on what best they can, what best you can change as far as your party.
First of all, President Lungu was a leader that had a thick skin. Looking at how much he was criticized, maligned, misunderstood, and painted in a manner that when you get closer and got closer to him, was totally contradictory to the real person and the values he held. Okay? And during his presidency, first of all, what speaks for him is that he did not emerge through ambition to become president. It was more or less obviously like divine appointment and the trust of the people. Even when he had the opportunity to impose himself as a leader, when he was left as acting president of the country, when others brought about some interpretation around who should act now that President Sata died, everybody said, "You're acting president, remain firm and commandeer this because you're already in situ." President Lungu chose the other way. He took back the instruments of power and said, "Please, you can proceed." That's how Vice President Guy Scott acted as president. When there was adjusting for power with MPF, those who were closer to the process will tell you, he said, "If I'm destined to be president, it will happen, but I will not fight for it. Leadership that you fight for always leads to failure. I have done my best as member of Central Committee, chair for legal, and I've also done my best from the time I was given an opportunity to be Secretary General. If what I brought to the table was of value and people appreciated, they will be able to say, this is the leader we need." He emerged from that place of humility and self-denial. Those are great virtues expected in a leader. If becoming president or becoming something is a do or die, you will fight for it with everything. It connotes that for you, occupying that office is an achievement. And that is where people's ambition caused them to go off the rail. Because when you become president and it's an achievement by being called Your Excellency, which in my view is cheap, then what? The scriptures say the end of the matter is greater than the beginning thereof. Meaning that if you're given an opportunity to be Secretary General, as I am, it is only when I finish my tour of duty that people can judge whether there was a leader who was given that privilege to serve in that capacity. Not at the beginning. I shouldn't even pride myself that I'm Secretary General, because being Secretary General is not an achievement. It's what you do in that office. And in this case, my little contribution is that we have found ourselves in these difficulties. My little contribution, I hope it will lead to the unity of the party, the unity of the opposition, and also a smooth transition in a democratic, transparent manner to arrive at a leader that will not only save the opposition and Patrotic Front, but will save the country given an opportunity to be in government and save diligently. Yes. Now, President Lungu was also committed to the rule of law. And what he did as president is so tangible that it's difficult for anybody to ignore. It's difficult for anybody to deny. It's difficult for anybody to erase. He was Minister of Justice before he became president. There was a debate around the draft constitution that the technical committee had come up with. When he was Minister of Justice, he said, this draft will see the light of day in Parliament. My turning point in working with President Lungu was around that constitution, because, when the draft was introduced in Parliament, he said it's a document We will not produce a white paper, which was the tradition, with other regimes and other presidents, that people speak, there will be a commission who go around and so on. When they come up with a draft, it is then submitted to government, and cabinet comes up with a white paper, meaning they cherry pick what they think they are comfortable to take to parliament for enactment. For him, he said, take it as it is. Simbiakula, I'm appointing you to take this document as it is. That's how the running mate clause found itself in the Constitution. 50+1 and other provisions, which some people criticize, but today they are celebrating. Remember how critical the likes of State Counsel John Sanga were when this process was being undertaken under President Edgar Chagorong. Later on, at least he was honest enough to say, Lungu has shocked everybody, including him, that he was brave enough to sign that document. At the time, people were threatening President Lungu that he will lose the election if he allows 50+1 running mate and all this to be put in the Constitution. He said, if I will only be in office for 1 year and some months, and I am able to give the people their document as they wished it to be, so be it. That speaks to his legacy. Infrastructure today, infrastructure development in all the provinces without any discrimination. Whether you talk of Northwestern Province, you talk of Western Province, you talk of Southern Province, you talk along the Rhine of Rail, he traversed this country without any form of discrimination. He was accused many times that maybe his tribalism and so on. Some of the appointments that he made to cabinet were deliberate to make sure that the One Zambia, One Nation motto was upheld. So the legacy of President Edgar Chagorong is there for everybody to see. He was a humble defender of our values as a people. He is known to have stood against the foreign pressure to legalize, foreign values like LGBT rights. You remember the interview he had with that lady from Sky News?
Yeah, Sky.
Who came to pressurize that, no, don't you think you risk, losing, foreign aid if you don't embrace these values? He said would rather remain poor.
Keep your foreign aid, if that's what foreign aid comes with. I remember the words correctly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the legacy of a man. What is the legacy of some of our people who are in government today?
That's a question that a lot of Zambians definitely would want to ask. Let's jump a little bit away from the Patrotic Front and the Tonse Alliance. But let's speak to some of the talks, or should I say, the street talks currently, as well as every other Zambian talk. We have vast land in Zambia. And currently, I want to say it's our biggest asset. Yes, we have the mines, we have everything, the rivers and whatnot, but land in Zambia is vast. If you drive from here to Kasama, you appreciate it. There is a new land and deeds registry amendment that is currently making rounds out there, and a lot of people are talking about this, placing power in the registrar's hands. I want you to speak to what exactly do you make of this bill? And what do you think? Is this the right thing that Zambians need? And also, as we speak about this bill, let's speak to the Bill 7. Do we have anything similar that has featured in the Bill 7 that was in Bill 10?
Well, first of all, unfortunately, when you look at the laws that are being pushed to Parliament, they all speak to the mindset of the leader, HH. Why would you want to give power to an individual to just wake up and
Council
and take land from you? It may without any justification. You take away the process of litigation if there is a dispute. The conscience of the nation is the judiciary. Why? Because if there is any dispute or difference between individuals, we seek recourse through the judiciary. You can't take away that power to make sure that justice prevails when there is a challenge. Even when you have a dispute with the state, you go to the court to resolve that.
Proper
that matter.
procedure of the law is taken.
This is basically wanting the state, because the backstops of the president, for people to be, harassed, properties gotten without justification. And it could be speaking to the fact that maybe what the people are experiencing in Namwana and in that part of the country where the grazing land for communities have been grabbed and one person has personalized in those areas for their personal benefit. You understand? They are not satisfied. They want to scale it up at national level, where somebody will then possibly grab properties for themselves using the land bill through the Commission of Lands. Remember, I talked about appointing cadres. You understand? When you look at those who have been appointed, whether it's Attorney General's office, Mr. Kavesha is UPND. He even attempted to stand in Shibuyenji. Masho Mchende's Solicitor General was basically, an errand fellow for President HH. You understand? There hasn't even this conscience of saying these people are conflicted, they cannot occupy these offices. So you are guaranteed that the one that is appointed or will be appointed as Commission of Lands will be a UPND cadre and will be used and influenced or instructed and directed to grab people's properties, especially if they are not sympathizers or supporting the current regime. You can't have that kind of law. You understand? Bill 7, first of all, before we even talk about the content, we know that it's being pushed for purposes of preserving the inevitable, preserving themselves from facing the inevitable, and that's a loss of elections. The so-called pronouncement of delimitation and so on is not done in good faith. There hasn't been even a process of consultation to say if we are to delimitate, what are the areas to which to balance the country in terms of distribution of resources. There hasn't been any consultation. So the process towards enacting the bill and the timing for trying to enact the Bill 7, all of them are wrong. And everybody, by consensus in the country, have said, let's not even debate the merits and demerits. Defer this bill to immediately after the election, so that we don't have a situation where, through this process, people sneak into the Constitution provisions that will kill, because right now our democracy and democratic space is shrinking and our democracy is being destroyed slowly. Before it is completely destroyed and killed, can we at least allow that we have some kind of a credible process of elections? Then after that, you can debate freely without the pressure of optimism towards the election.
The question that the UPND has come up with or reasoned with is the fact that you, as the PF, 10 years ago, delimitated the country. And they're saying it's 10 years past, we need to do this now. And here you are, you're qualifying it simply by saying they have not done the needful simply by having a stakeholder engagement, and they have not really consulted fully in the fact that how are we going to divide the resources or supply these newly delimited constituencies with resources. They are saying we have enough resources to do this, and here you are as PF saying they could have done better. What is it that they could have done better? If you were to stand there and say, this is what you could have done better, what is it that they can do better?
Well, I think it's a motivation around the enactment of Bill 7. When they are trying to anchor on delimitation, but there are other inimical provisions within Bill 7 that should never even be thought about. I don't have the document here, but I can only speak authoritative to the fact that the process to arrive at even that draft itself was not all-inclusive. That's not Ms. Nakachinda's document or the UPND's document. That's the people's document. That's the supreme law of the land. You definitely need consensus. You need people to speak to their document and dictate what should be in the document. It should not be dictated to by a political party, whether you're under ruling or otherwise. Waste steel should not be dictated to by the individual. I also have limitations. I saw a letter by Mr. John Sangwa to the Attorney General restraining the President from commenting around Bill 7 because it's still in court and there are matters yet to be resolved in court. And therefore, he can't then be suggesting that that bill has not been withdrawn. It has just been put on ice so that there could be some stakeholder engagement and things like that. And I think in the same vein, I would comment only to the, to a limited point, to a point where I can highlight what is in the public domain, to which all of us spoke and why we are uncomfortable with UPND proceeding with Bill number 7. Yeah.
Awesome. It's still your public forum on Sun FM Radio and TV, and at this point, I think we can start bringing in some second ears as well as mouths to speak to you, Honorable Raphael Nakachinda. Now, 0955-855-953 is the number that you're calling us on. Good morning. Who do we have on the line and where are you calling us from?
Good morning, Miji. I'm calling from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Mr. Nakachinda, how are you?
Very well, Mr. Miji. What are you doing in Congo?
Well, I'm on business here, my cousin.
Yes, I hope you bring goods and money from there.
Definitely, I'll be able to bring you some dollars. That is just a light moment. Nakachinda. I'll be very frank with you. Frankness does not break any relationship. Please, you are free to criticize President Hakainde Hichilema, but don't be personal in your criticism. I've seen you issuing derogatory statements, alarming statements against the President Hakainde Hichilema, which has even landed you to be in court today. And you must count yourself flat, Nakachinda. You are supposed to be in jail. It is just a matter of time. You will be there. As you are providing checks and balances, bear in mind that you are dealing with a sitting president who happens to be Hakainde Hichilema. You are free to criticize him based on his policies, not going to the situation whereby you even become personal. You can't bring the government.
And
as
your 1
individual
minute is down. Thank you very much for coming through. Do remember that we get to give you 1 minute as you get to give us your calls. 0955-855-953 is the number that you're calling us on, and will give us your question, your contribution on your public forum. I do have Honorable Raphael Nakachinda. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, my brother.
Good morning, thank you. Who do we have on the line and where are you calling us from?
The voice of the voices, Mr. Shepherd from Andola.
Mr. Shepherd, kindly go ahead. Mr. Nakachinda is here.
Honorable Nakachinda, good morning, sir.
Good morning, and how are you?
Not complaining, we are okay. Thank you so much. First and foremost, I want to say, myself, I'm very much disappointed with some of you politicians. You have really failed us and you have made us to be poor as a nation. Why am I saying so, Mr. Nakachinda? I, for one, my first disappointment is that I expected your party, PF, to be giving proper checks and balances and pressure to the government of the day. Alas, we have just seen vulgar language, bitterness, things which is not even helping a poor Zambian at ground. Now, I have a question. I have 2-3 questions for you, Mr. Nakachinda. What is making you to be an angel today when you were once in the government with your party, and you were given time, but less goods were done to the Zambians? Number 2, what plans do you have if you were given a chance as PF to revamp the energy sector, especially kuzesco okutwachula sana. The last one.
And
what is your take on the issue of ACL? Because it has now prolonged. Chaba quite normally chaba expired. What is your take
very
as
much
a
for
party?
coming through. Your time is up. 1 minute is allocated to you. This is Public Forum. We can squeeze in one more caller, Mr. Nakachinda?
Yes.
Let's squeeze in one more caller. 0955 855 953. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Very fine, thank you. My name is Victor. Who do we have on the line? And where are you calling us from?
This is Michelle calling you from Ndola Mshirikan to be specific about Sungabono voters.
Kindly go ahead, Mr. Meshek.
My secretary, Honorable Nakachinda, Mashubukachan,
Fetwashuga Mashukanuk.
Honorable, Geso Mumfuire, in my preamble, Nandiro Kutira forever Sungabono voters. Honorable Sungabono voters, Mukufunya ko Uteko, 2026, Navena Zambia. Nombeta first in there and the court, Honorable Muikatane. Namumona Mingara Sobeshi the Nation. Kiraba to our president at Nomba Lingarat. For the Kakaba PF, so that the Mupasangane, the Lomupashuaba Lungu, Ubenaenu, so that the Mupatan win no parade down. Or number 2 or 9. Umitasha PF, Pafumwa Bomba. Pakyo Stira Vena Zambia. The owner the Boturera and the party notificating 4 years down the line. 4 years over to Kutira, Ipenga Kuna Kutubayu Kutakutona Pono to Fula, but not only Shivena, Abana independence. We send the Kopari, Lydia, Shidia, Zamusa, over there to be the Miti, what did him be Katuish, but if we are Zambia.
And your 1 minute is up. Thank you
so
very
much.
much for coming through. Mr. Nakachinda, care to respond to those 3 callers that we just had?
Mr. Miji, typical of UPND cadres, he wants to dictate how we will provide checks and balances. We run a presidential system in this Republic of Zambia. The backstops as Mr. Nakachinda Hichilema. The difference between Mr. Nakachinda Hichilema and Mr. Lungu, Mr. Sata, Lupia Banda, Manawasa Chiluba, and Kaunda was that all these presidents, and I remember Manawasa verbalizing it, he said, I have developed a thick skin. A president must have a thick skin. He cannot come into that office as if he is a chief. We are in a democracy. We have within our laws, rights and freedoms that are protected for every citizen. I have the right to speak out for myself, for others who may not have the privilege like I do to be on radio. In a language that I find fit to be able to attract the attention of the UPND government. When I started carrying a binoculars as a symbol of saying we are watching you, the UPND government, for some people it was like a joke, but it was a symbolic political activism to say we don't trust this government because they have not demonstrated, whether through their manifesto or ideology, that they are up to something to benefit the Zambians.
Somebody would have asked you if you were to say in the language that fits to attract their attention. Somebody would say, isn't there any other language that you can use perhaps to attract their attention? Is it the choice of words maybe that the previous caller is talking about?
No, how can we be in a democracy where the ruling party is choosing words we should use for them to be comfortable? What words, from the time you started interviewing me up to now, what words is derogated?
None.
What irritates Mr. Nakachinda Hichilema is the truth. Okay? For example, let me go through what I've been arrested for. one time I was arrested for saying he is ignorant, but I said it in Bemba, that Kwena Marufianya, you have gotten the most ignorant person and put him into State House. It was twisted. For them, it's an insult. But if I compare Hakainde Hichilema to Vernon Mwanga, who comes from the same area I come from, I compare HH to Mazoka, I compare HH to Ben Mwinga, I compare HH to Mainza Chona, I compare HH to all these people who participated in the governance of this country at different, levels and portfolios. You understand? And with distinction, and are celebrated today. He can't compare. In terms of knowledge of governance, he can't come even 10% to VJ. That's my opinion. You understand what I'm saying? So calling him ignorant, is it an insult? There are areas where I'm not competent myself. I'm ignorant. You understand what I'm saying? And if somebody comes and tells me that you're ignorant in relation to medical expertise, why should I consider that as an insult? But I was arrested for that. Okay? 2, I was arrested for, condemning revelations that were coming from the office of the president through his aides, that they are now in charge, and even in charge with the judicial officers. They are even summoning them to give them instructions. What has happened now with Chavinga's revelation? Talking to a minister, saying that if you kuya kusafika kuya mkulisha mo judge to go and corrupt a judge. But I was facing a charge because I exposed the truth. What the UPND call insults and derogative language is when you confront them with the truth.
Let's try to pick more calls. 0955-855-953. Good afternoon. We're now in the afternoon. It crosses over. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Very fine, thank you. Who do we have on the line and where are you calling us from?
This is Miss Anton. We are calling from the Copper.
Miss Anthony, kindly go ahead, please.
Good morning, SG.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm okay, SG. I think mine is the contribution. I think the UPND are faced with the truth. And this is one thing the Zambians must know. The UPND are not able to confront the truth because they were elected on falsehood. You cannot, in the face of what Chavinga said, you cannot defend what is obvious. Mr. Sata used to say there is no better way to say it. If the president has erred, he has erred. Today we have this obsession of wanting to go and inspect the body. For what? And if the people use the word to say bullshit, you are going to arrest them. So I think the UPN needs to develop a thick skin, like the SG has been saying. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming through. 0955-855-953. We were also responding to the other callers on the before we picked up this one.
Yeah. So I was going to say, maybe even commenting on the last caller, Dr. Chiluba, who personally was one of my mentors politically, he used to say, "Umulandunga wapita pa ujeni, na wewe inakupita pa ujeni." There is no other way you can deal with, for example, the revelation of Chavinga, save to condemn them with the contempt it deserves. Somebody asked, what are the solutions in the energy sector, particularly electricity? Prioritize Zambians. All the exports that are being undertaken, within the region and beyond. The fact that the economy is being affected by lack of electricity, don't benefit an outsider before you benefit your own people. So cancel that. You understand? That's the first place of relief. 2,
You're speaking to the exportation of power.
yes, cancel that. Why do you want to prioritize giving a service to a foreigner or your neighbor before you can basically service your own people. 2, why are we giving mining entities, tax holidays, including the usage of electricity, prioritizing their production, when in fact whatever they produce is leaving this country without really significant benefit to Zambia? Why don't you allow them to pay equal to what they are consuming? And you generate enough money to be able to capacitate ZESCO with other sources of, means of generating, electricity, so that you can relieve the ordinary Zambians. If you look at what goes to the mine, the consumption, the
electricity
consumption to the mining sector, compared to what ordinary Zambians are consuming, it is possibly what we consume as ordinary people is a third of what the mines, are consuming. But when you look at what the mines are paying, they have been granted, holidays and relief in that regard. It is that warped mindset and ideology, maybe through blackmail and sometimes through, individuals benefiting, that is causing us to suffer what we should not ordinarily suffer. So that could be the first 2 steps we take to relieve an ordinary Zambian so that they can have at least over 20 hours of electricity.
0955-855-953. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, thank you. Who do we have on the line?
This is Chanda.
Mr. Chanda, kindly go ahead.
ST.
Good afternoon, Machanda Mulishana Kundora.
Apart from I am right over that export over to my government. But last time I was in power, the market with the market right. My second export now to load shedding, but there are load shedding. But to load shedding, the government when 2019, 2020. Until why should I decision that you don't shedding but the hard problem
Thank you very much, and your time is up.
Procurement, okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, maybe I think it's important that though my response was more on the surface, do you know that the greatest investment in electricity generation, apart from in the 70s under UNIP, the only other investment at Cafe Gold and other places where PF invested billions of dollars to actually increase from 1,500 megawatts that we're producing to actually slightly over 3,500 or so. An addition of about, 2,000? I hope my figures the nomenclatures are correct. That increase was basically arising from the fact that the population had grown. And the demand, obviously, on the grid had increased. The projection was that when that project is concluded, we would have absorbed the deficit and we even have surplus to export. What the current government has done, and remember, Mr. Nakachinda Chirema went to commission that, the completion of that project when the investment was done by PF. He was on the copper belt since about tomorrow copper belt. Yale solar panels were the commission kusi singa mnaibukisha. Aba ambire ile project ni malungu. Ababa Nakachinda Chirema efo bachile commission ifingi in terms of a project yabo iyo basangire twali bomba kale ni bamwenda mwalimwa and tabakwata nechinka chakusumino kutira omunandi ali bomba inende chita commission fyonse balabepa pabwelu bali yakazungula kuya chita commission bridge yabalungu nokulanda ati money for to invest, you see. And therefore, some people have ended up believing that he has done something. There's nothing Misaka Indechilema has done and invested in terms of building, investing in infrastructure that will aid the production of electricity or otherwise. The only things that he went to commission is either tuma bohos, nama toilet yaku kwacha kukitu, ashile bomba up to today. That's not the major things that he has done. But Valavepa, by commissioning projects, for example, Kafrafuta Dam, Valide Nombarine, priding themselves. That Kafrafuta Dam, as a continuation of that project, I was Minister for Water Development. We were, investing and making sure that by the time of getting to the elections in 2021, the works were over 80%, 90% completion. And therefore, the Misaka Indechilema, all he has done is to go and put his name and signature there. He's not the one who undertook that project. And I can go project by project. So in terms of solutions moving forward, we are going to build from where we left. Just a few things which I think the policy of UPND has prioritized foreigners. Mr. Lung and PF, in terms of our policies, we look inwards first before we can look outward. That's why even when it came to the mines, Mopani, there was no need to give Mopani away because the investment in Mopani and the mine itself was practically, renewed to give it even another lease of life. What we needed is to assemble Zambians who, through that equity, they can be able to source funds out there and maybe an equity partner, with less percentage and government having an interest. All the monies that would be generated from the production of copper and other minerals from that mine would have been domiciled in Zambia, and our economy would not be as bad as it is. But what has happened? We have ended up having people who don't even have a traceable record of being in mines, and we suspect there could be people who are behind that investment because they are owning it through proxies and they are giving it to themselves. When you have dealers, business people, mafias, taking the reins of power, that's what happens. They do everything from a point of their interests, business interests, not the interests of the citizens.
Awesome. Now, as we get to the dark hour of this show, I want us to zero in, obviously, on the First family in particular. You've stood very close with the Lungu family in this hour. You and Makebi Zulu, you've spoken on behalf sometimes, Mr. Makebi as well. I want us to maybe tap in a little bit into the barrier of the former late president. Are we seeing this issue being concluded amicably? And when I say amicably, can it be concluded between the Zambian government and the Lungu family? Is there such kind of light between these two entities?
If the UPND government and the president was sincere and honest about this whole process, it would have been resolved a long time ago.
When you say sincere and honest, what exactly?
If you go to the table to discuss a matter, there's a dispute or impasse or something like that. The only thing that cures that dispute is the honest discourse. You should be able to sincerely commit, and what you have committed to, you don't divert. The moment you go to the negotiating table with a view of tricking the other, you never resolve the issue. And you expect that those who are in government, especially the president, would be honorable enough, because that is the office he occupies is a symbol of our sovereignty. It is expected to be occupied and function from a place of truth, righteousness, justice, and propel love, not vindictiveness and retribution. You understand? President Lungu came back to active politics. What motivated his coming back to active politics? He spelled it out. Go to his speech. The democratic space of the country has shrinked. The opposition, main opposition, the party he led as president, has been tempered with and grabbed from the rightful leaders of the organization. The judiciary is being tampered with, which is supposed to be the conscience of this nation, the sacred institution that must guarantee that it checks those in the executive, they don't do things that are unlawful against the citizens, and be able to provide also a check on parliament. Today we have a speaker who would even insult the court in their face and says you will not respect the ruling from the Concord. The executive, how many times have they disobeyed court orders? You understand? There are many issues that he spelled out as a reason for coming, back to active politics. When he came back to active politics, what may not be known in the background, there were emissaries sent by the current president, some of them in form of former presidents, to talk to President Lungu. Consistently, he spelled out, if this man means business to harmonize and hold this country together, let him stop interfering with the opposition. You remember the audios of Levi Ngoma and Mr. Kafumba and all those which demonstrated that they are determined to abuse in offices like that of Registrar of Society. That's how come they kicked out that woman, so that then they can be able to silence, if not destroy, the opposition political parties. Other former presidents came, he was consistent. The church here in Zambia pronounced that they want to find a way to bring reconciliation between, President Edgar Chagalungu and HH. I remember sitting in a meeting where he dictated a letter to the church. I am willing to reconcile. But the reconciliation should not be perceived to be one that, suggests that I have personal issues with the church. The issues we have and I have is ABCD. Give the party back to the rightful leadership. Allow PF to function properly. Allow members of parliament in parliament to be able to provide checks and balances without any interference. Today we have a bad record of having members of parliament, arrested and imprisoned. My young brother Munia Zulu is in jail. For what? For speaking out within the precincts of parliament where he enjoys immunity, but he's in jail. Mabonga, today they want to grab the seat by even having a by-election undertaken when, first of all, she was jailed for doing what? Speaking out on the rights of a fellow member of parliament and citizens. When you ask the justification for that, they say the language was bad. What language would you use when a member of parliament has been abducted, his life threatened, and he mentions people within government, some of them around the president, to have been the ones behind the abduction? It even goes to court. And in this country, we think this is normal. You understand? So, if there is any discourse, President Lungu said, I don't want to be part of people trying to suggest, after being treated the way he was treated and how PF is treated, how citizens are treated, that in my death you come and start pretending I'm a statesman and all that. That is what has led to this discussion and impasse. If the wrong that has been occasioned against ECL, against his party, against the institutions of government, are appreciated by those who are in government, and they commit that, I think, arising from the death of ECL, it has opened our eyes that our political discourse has not been right the past 4 years, and I think it's an opportunity to make amends so that we can realign this country to go on the path of proper democratic institutions being respected, and also without cadres, and also be able to allow the opposition members of parliament and everybody to function as they expected, they focus on responding to fundamental issues the opposition is raising and they correct them, this country would have made progress.
Definitely.
Even the burial issue would have been resolved. But they were going to the family, tricking them. There are pronouncements that are being made back home here that the moment the body comes, you will not even have a chance. And it's coming from one of the institutions, security wings. And then the program is agreed, pronouncements are made, changes are made without even consulting the family. So those are the issues that brought about the impasse. To make it matters worse, they decided to go to court, which litigation has also oversteps to a point of destabilizing our good diplomatic relationship with South Africa. Even to a point of suing a minister of international relations who respected this president and this government by coming on behalf of President Ramaphosa to engage the government on how best this issue can be resolved. As a leadership in PF, we have pledged to stand with the family, but we have also been available to engage whoever that has issues around this impasse, to be able to tabulate what the issues are and challenge them. If you are honest about wanting to resolve this issue, come to the table with clean hands. Come to the table with clean hands and be able to face whether the issues being raised by the family and the party and other stakeholders interested merit you attending to them.
Awesome. Now, Honorable, I would go on with you for the next 1 hour again. But obviously, time is never our best ally. You see how 1 hour 30 minutes is little for us having this conversation. Already, it's only about 3 minutes before we clock it out. I want you to wrap it up. And I'm going to ask you a yes or no question. And this is for the benefit of the listener and the viewer. Have you seen, by any chance, the body of the former Republican President, Edgar Chagwa Lungu, laying in a morgue?
Because the question is motivated with some silly
this honorable
insinuations by the ruling party.
It's not motivated, but I'm asking because mostly you find that these are calls that we receive on our tabloids. These are calls that we receive, and I'm not able to receive any phone call right now. But I'm just asking from the background of such, and I bet with due respect, I'm not insinuating anything. This is a question that is driven by a caller who wants to maybe find out. Have you or have you not?
No, not answer that question.
There we go. And we get to respect that. Honorable Nakachinda, it has been a pleasure. You don't know how we've been longing to have your voice on this platform.
Thank you very much.
And do remember, this platform is widely open to people like yourself, the Tonse Alliance, the UPND, the Socialist Party. Like we always say it on this platform, it's not for the PF. It's not for the UPND. It's not for any other political party. And well, borrowing Mr. Nakachinda's words, it is for you, the public, who hold the highest voice as well as the highest opposition in this country. My name is Victor Mwanza, and do remember, the words and opinions of Mr. Nakachinda are those of him and not SADFM. It's on to the next for now.